Do you have a room to spare? Every day, refugee claimants are arriving in Canada. These are people who are not sponsored by faith groups, community networks, or government programs. Unlike the refugees who have been welcomed and sponsored by our own churches or other community groups, these are people who arrive with no support system in place and are in desperate need. One of the first things they need is to find a safe, warm place to sleep. Unfortunately, Toronto's shelter system is already stretched to its limits, leaving settlement agencies such as Romero House in Toronto scrambling to find temporary accommodation for them. So if you have an extra room in your home, can you help by offering a temporary space for refugee claimants as they await more permanent housing?
With my family, with my 4 kids plus wife, I have very difficult to find a shelter. Very happy when I find Romero House through Red Cross. When I come to Romero House, they accept me in good condition, and they give me a shelter.
So Romero House has been at maximum capacity for a long time, and people are showing up at our doors daily looking for shelter spaces. And we will call around to all of the shelters in the city to try and find a place, but they're really at maximum capacity. And so Romero House has had people staying in our common rooms, staying in our office space. Other organizations that we work with in Toronto have had people sleeping in their boardrooms, sleeping in their common rooms, in their recreational spaces. All of the shelters are really at full capacity. The Community Host Program is an initiative that we are starting to reach out to ask for support from the community to make sure that refugee claimants who are arriving have a place to stay when they first arrive.
And so Romero House approached us last year about having Marino live with us, and we met and we really enjoyed Marino. And so Marino's been with us since that time. And then in the fall, we started doing some shorter term. Basically, a family came who had an appointment, but they would have otherwise had to pay for a hotel. And for a family starting out, that's quite expensive, especially in Toronto.
We are looking for people who are willing to offer space in their home for a temporary stay, so that could be a few days or it could be up to 2 weeks until a space opens in a refugee house or a shelter. And we would be offering support to these community hosts and making sure that they got the necessary background checks, as well as continually checking in with them and offering settlement support to the families who are staying with them.
Our faith tradition has been shaped, in many ways, by the experiences of refugees. The children of Israel flee to Egypt to escape famine, and then generations later return to their homeland after fleeing the increased oppression they experience in exile. The infant Jesus and his parents traveled to Egypt to escape the slaughter of the children of Bethlehem that we commemorate on the Feast of the Holy Innocents. The Bible exhorts us over and over to welcome the stranger and to ensure that we do not mistreat the foreigner. Anglicans in the Diocese of Toronto have been working to address today's refugee crisis in a number of ways. In the last year, more than 75 parishes have engaged in sponsoring refugees to come to Canada, providing them with a year of financial assistance along with vitally important social supports to help them transition to their new homes. And parishes throughout the diocese support vital ministries to refugees through their commitment to faith works. Yes, there is need for long-term structural change to address the housing and shelter crisis throughout the Diocese of Toronto, and we remain committed to advocating for such changes. However, there is also an urgent need right now for support of some of our society's most vulnerable.
I think people sometimes worry about whether it's, to open their house to strangers. That's always the first question everyone always asks me. And I have to say that it is the most trusting relationship I've ever had, because they're so indebted and incredibly grateful to have a safe space. So the trust is built on their need to have a safe space to stay. And that's where the relationship begins. Even if it's just for one night or 2 nights, it's just knowing that they have a safe and loving place to stay. And that's really a wonderful thing.
Offering temporary accommodation to refugee claimants, people who are not sponsored by individuals, groups, or government programs, is another way that we can support some of our most vulnerable neighbours as they navigate the complex refugee claims process. By welcoming them into our homes, by keeping them off the street, we not only confirm and make visible the hope that is in us, but we open ourselves to new avenues of God's revelation in our lives, in our church, and in the world. If you have a room to spare anywhere in the diocese, please contact Romero House to see how you could be part of the Community Host Program. Your hospitality can make all the difference for someone starting a new life in Canada.